Hey everybody, this is Jason Neese, 1v1 Fight Gear. I just wanted to talk to you guys about the foam that we use in our various gloves and give you a quick overview of the pros and cons for each and a little bit of detail about them. First up is what's commonly called ringside foam or IMF foam in the industry. It is one solid piece of urethane and it's about 1.75 inches thick. And it's good for general all-around training. You can pretty much do anything with it. It's a little bit firm for sparring, but after you break it in, you can definitely use it for sparring. But initially, you want to probably stick with bag work and mitt work. Another benefit is it's all solid piece here, and you get real consistent performance with it. And in terms of sewing with it, that's another benefit. It's really consistent, and you can do like one piece of leather if you want to do a Mexican style like Reyes, where there's no seam here. You can do that with this foam. This is our base foam. We don't charge anything for using this foam. It comes as part of when we do our custom gloves. This is the standard. It comes with the glove. One of the next steps up is what we call Mexican foam. It's just a 1 inch thick latex foam, all cut out of one piece of latex, and it's 1 inch thick latex, and then you have a 1/2 inch thick piece of latex glued in to kind of give it the positioning, the curve. And this is exactly what Reyes gloves use in any sort of Mexican style glove. One of the drawbacks is that the thumb is kind of locked in place, so even if you look at the Reyes glove, the foam doesn't quite sit in there perfectly, but that's a small drawback. This is a power hitter's glove. You can definitely squeeze these pretty easily, so there's not a whole lot of protection for you. So for the big hitters that are concerned about power punching, this is probably the foam you want to use. Now we're going to get into the layered style gloves. This is from one of our overseas gloves. You can see the outer layer is a thin latex, probably about 1/4 inch, maybe a little bit thicker. And that's all one solid piece, just like the ringside foam, but then it has inner layers that are, this is the memory foam, and you can see it's built up with really 4 layers there. One, 2, 3, 4. So 5 layers altogether. This white foam is an EVA foam. It's just to help give some stability because these are pretty soft foams, this memory foams. These are really good for general purpose work. They're good for sparring, and the cloth here is just to prevent sweat and stuff from getting into the foam area. Next is this is the foam we use on our heavy hitters bag glove. If you look on JT Van V's website on YouTube channel, we make a glove for him, and this is what we use inside that glove. It's a little bit, this is basically just what they call rebond. It's foam pieces chopped up and glued together, and it's a really strong, they use it for under carpeting and stuff, and it's a really strong kind of foam. It's still flexible, but it adds a lot of strength to the foam piece. That's why it's perfect for that heavy bag, big hitter kind of thing. It's got a lot of endurance. It's got a lot of strength, and this is about a 3/4 inch piece of latex on the outside of it, and then a little bit of extra foam in the middle for cushioning. You can see that it's actually 3 main layers, and then the little foam inside to kind of hold it together and kind of cover up these edges as well. Finally is the foam that we custom make here for our custom gloves. like the foam we use on our Pro Trainer Elites. And this is pretty much exactly what Winning does, and we've added a slight variation, which I'll talk about. The outer foam is your basic 1-inch upholstery kind of foam. All right, and these are really good for the way this one is set up. It's an all-around trainer. You can spar with it, you can do bag work, everything. Then you have a sub layer here. This is the same material that's used on Winning gloves. It took us a long time to find, and we finally found it. You can see it's fairly firm. So you have a fairly not firm and a fairly firm setup here. And then what we do is we add a layer of EVA foam. This layer right here, this white layer, is EVA foam, and that's what helps give stability to the foam. And then on our Pro Trainer Elite, we add this latex. This is a cushiony, it's fairly strong, it's not too soft. And it's got a quick rebound. It's a memory foam, but it rebounds quickly, unlike some memory foams. So you've got about 2 inches of foam padding there on our Pro Trainer Elites. What we do is we add, this is just black Cordura fabric, and we put it in here so that we can cover up the seams. So we just glue down this piece of fabric, and that makes sure that these edges of like the latex and edges of the EVA foam will never come up. And also what we do is we infuse it. You can see it's kind of whitish. We put some antifungal, anti-odor powder. We infuse it into the fabric, because this is where the back of your hand is probably where the most sweat is going to be. So that helps us make sure that it stays clean inside the glove. And you can see at the bottom here, this is right at the edge of the glove. Now, one thing that we do that's really different is we're not the only ones that do it, but it's only the high-end gloves that do it. The back of the cuff starts about right here. So most foams, even like the ringside foam, you can see where the cuff starts. It starts about right here. Well, when you do that, what happens is if you have it stop right here and then have the cuff here, you have a hinge point right here, and that makes the glove really floppy, and it really negates all your wrist support. What we do is we make the foam all the way down into the cuff so that it's one solid piece. Even if we have a triple cuff, the triple cuff will sit on top of this, and the reason is there's no hinge point when you do that. So that's why our custom gloves have such incredible wrist support, is there's no bend right here. There's nothing to bend. There's no hinge point. Our closing seam is not right here. On all those other gloves that you use, the midline gloves, they put their closing seam, their final stitch right here, and it goes all the way through the glove, or through the leather on both sides, so that these foams are separated. We put our closing seam at the bottom so that this is one continuous piece. There's no hinge point. All right, last thing is our thumbs. We custom make every thumb for our custom gloves. We build all of our own thumbs. We don't just stick a piece of latex on there. We shape everything. So this is a couple layers of neoprene rubber, and you can see we shape it first, glue it together, and shape it as we're gluing it together, and then we grind out the internal parts so that your thumb can really fit in there, and it produces a really natural feeling thumb. This is exactly what Winning does, and it's really the only way to go. That's about it. If you have any questions, last thing is I don't always connect my thumb. I typically don't connect it because the leather we use is really thick, and you just don't need it. You can't see the seam. There's just no need to connect it. And if we're using a little bit thinner leather for whatever reason, then I'll connect it. I'll glue it together. But with the thick leather that we use, you know, we want to use thick leather because it lasts a lot longer. Our leather will last years and years of heavy use. But with that thick leather, you don't need to connect the thumb. So we typically leave them disconnected. All right. Any questions, give me a shout at jason@1v1gear.com. Look up our website, 1v1gear.com. And appreciate it. We're going to have more videos coming up, so stay tuned.